So we are back, and a question that my friends have asked me is, why are you learning languages? Why are you learning languages, Patrick? Short answer, uh, short answer in less than 5 seconds. Sorry. Short answer, Poland. That was the reason why. Long answer, Vilsan. Let me explain. Okay, so Poland. Well, I went to Poland with my hometown orchestra last year. Actually, it'll be a year. Um, Not come this week, but the week after that will be a year since I visited Poland. And as anyone who is learning any foreign language, um, the languages that are part of the Slavic family are generally considered some of the hardest to learn in the world. I would also say that Korean and Japanese and Mandarin Chinese are also really difficult. Um, but those are for different reasons. Um, so yeah, but I took it upon myself to at least learn some of the basic phrases in Polish. I had some help because a couple of my friends are Polish, and the conductor of my hometown orchestra, or rather the former conductor now, um, he is also Polish. He's from Katowice, formerly known as Katowice, before the whole like ethnic cleansing of post World War II. So yeah, um, so that's how that. So that's how that started, and then we get to Poland, and I got to the point, despite the fact that I was the only black person on this tour, which is not weird, but it's just a thing that I like sometimes have to remind myself of. But not only was I the only black person there, I was also the only like non-naturalized American on this tour as well, because everyone else is from European descent, with the exception of like two other people, are and oh yeah, and the principal violist, because principal violist and the principal second, because they're both from China originally. So yeah, um, so my it took about a couple of months just to practice the pronunciation. As some of you might know, Polish is very difficult with all of its consonant clusters. Even just saying "excuse me," "przepraszam" is the word you use for that. It is very difficult if you haven't seen PRZ all smashed together in one word. So yeah, Polish is difficult. Here's another example. The term, or rather the word for happy, szczęśliwe, szczęśliwe, right? So there are four consonant clusters. There's sh, ch, and sorry. So I guess that makes two. So there's sh, which is sz in English, and then ch, so which is cz in English. So sh, szczęśliwe, which is it's so funny in a way, because if you can pronounce Polish consonant clusters, like your articulation will just become, when you speak, when you flip back to English, will be so much better. It'll be much more clear, at least in my experience. Yeah, so that's the story about how I started to learn Polish. Here's a little fun story about my time in Poland. Um, we were, I believe this was the Bielsko Biała concert, so this was a kids concert, and if you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of being around kids for the most part. Um, so we finished this concert, which was a long one. It was about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Concert went well. The kids loved it. They were so excited. They were very attentive. Um, and so we get out of Sala Cavatina, or Cavatina Hall. It's where it's where the Philharmonic in Bielsko-Biała plays at. It's their hall called Cavatina Hall. It's really nice. It's really nice. I love it. I have a picture of it from the outside. It's absolutely beautiful. And one of the cellists goes, well, she asked me, and she goes, "Why don't you like kids?" And I gave her the my usual list of reasons. I was like, yada yada yada. And as soon as I finished saying that statement, uh, dad and his kid. Well, the dad comes up to me. He asks me in English, and he asked me, can we take a picture with you?" And the rest, half of the orchestra is just like, ha, they're just laughing because I had just finished saying I'm not a huge fan of kids, and then this kid and his dad came up and asked if they could get a picture with me. But to even add on to that, um, I conversed with them a little bit in Polish, which sounded a little bit like this. Um, yeah, tak dobrze. Um, Jak masz na imię? And so the kid would say his name. It was like Mama imię Piotr. Piotr was a really common name for young kids. Jan is also really common, and so it's like, yeah, mam na imię Jacek. A ty? And it's like, dobrze. Mam na imię Patrick. Jestem z USA, which is basically saying I'm from the USA. Um, and these people were very surprised. One, that I could understand, and two, that I was conversing with them ever, even if it was just like little basic phrases. Um, one of the one of the kids, um, he literally said to his father, I'm translating here. Um, what did he say? What is it in Polish? He's like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh tata, tata, on rozumie, on rozumie," um, which means he understands. He understands. Um, and he just, like, his eyes just got so wide, his jaw dropped, and it was one of those things that I will never forget. Um, so yeah, I was a little bit of a celebrity in Poland. There aren't that many people with dark skin in Poland. Poland's pretty homogenous society. It's slightly changing a little bit, because of the war in Ukraine. So there's a lot of Ukrainians, especially in the southeast of Poland. Um, but yeah, in terms of like immigration from other places, that it's not that common. Um, but that being said, I had a wonderful time in Poland. I made a new friend in Warsaw. So hi, Cześć Natalia. I hope you're doing well. Um, yeah. And then I come to find out that one of my colleagues I went to college with way back in 2012. He lives in Warsaw, and I didn't put the two and two together until he messaged me on the day of our Warsaw concert. He's like, "Hey, like, I see you guys are coming to or in Warsaw. Like, are you performing this concert?" Like, "Yeah, I am actually." It's like, I didn't know you were in Warsaw." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So we met up after the concert for a little while. Um, the Warsaw concert was probably the most memorable, bec- because not only was it was in the we were in the Golden Hall of the Royal Cathedral, in Warsaw's Old Town, which is, my goodness, I thought I was gonna go blind of how it was so bright, and everything was just like, there's like stereotypical, like when you think of like royalty, right? This was that plus more, and we were performing a concert inside of this hall for all of these, like the upper end of Polish society, and it was great. Um, that concert was also the most off kilter, and I say off kilter not in a bad way, but because we had two soloists. The first soloist, well, okay, for here, let me restart. Both of their names are Elizabeth, um, which was a little, funny. Uh, but in Polish, this is Elżbieta, as what they call Elizabeth. Um, and so there we had two soloists. Um, the first Elizabeth number one, who I'm going to call. The other one I'm going to call EP because that's her initials. So the Elizabeth one is she's a soprano. She's from the UK, and we actually got to have dinner with her before we got in back into Warsaw, and she's absolutely amazing. Like, wow, she's so chill, so easy to work with as well. Um, oh, and also she is black, so there's also that. But yeah, no, she's absolutely phenomenal. There is part of that performance with her. I think it's the aria from Idomeneo is what we're playing, and she absolutely rocked it. Um, she came out originally, and the crowd was had like the raised eyebrow look, like the erased eyebrow emoji, and then she did a Domineo, and she absolutely won the crowd over. And they would not let her leave the stage like three times after each time she came out. And it was just like, oh guys, we still have more music to play. Like, we still have to play the red violin, we still have to play like the Acadian songs and dances. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. We had a local accordion player. um I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Maciek, I believe. um or was it Mateusz? I think it was Maciek though. Yeah, it was Maciek. Okay, but yeah, and so there is a part in the last movement of the Acadian songs and dances because we did a string orchestra arrangement of it. So we have the clarinet melody, and if you don't know, the accordion is really popular as an instrument where I'm from, which is south/southeast Louisiana. Um, and that's so the piece, the Acadian songs and dances, is from a movie, which is called A Louisiana Story, and the music was written by Virgil Thompson way back in, I believe it's 1948. I believe it's a very very old film, and it depicts like a typical, maybe not typical, but a stereotypical, what life was like back then in southeast Louisiana. Obviously, if you were white, um, but the music is pretty good. It's not like, it's not gonna like rock your face off or anything, but like in terms of like it being a good representative of the kind of music that is like down here, yeah, it does the job very well, I believe. But anyways, I'm getting off track. So we so what was I saying? Oh yes, the accordion. The accordion is a very popular instrument, and we also added some percussion in as well. Um, so we got the our audience got to experience not only like one of their native Poles playing the accordion, which is also really popular in Poland as well, but you also got to see a percussion play a washboard and actually use forks and spoons as percussion instruments. It it was a good time. They absolutely loved the last moment of it, and also because I like it, we have the clarinet solo. So yeah, it was a good time. Um, and then met. I went to a bar called El Cocktail, which is right across the street from Hotel Gramada. If you're ever in Warsaw, or what the Poles call it, Warszawa, which sounds a lot better in my opinion. Um, but yeah, it's a cool bar. It's it's like this little chic cocktail bar when it's a little. I think it's slightly exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to ask Natasha about it again. Um, but yeah, it was a great time. The drinks were amazing, and I definitely want to go back for sure. And hopefully sooner rather than later. Maybe if I can swing that audition that is in Warsaw for the Philharmonic, I might be able to do so. We'll see what happens. Um, but yeah, so that's a little bit about that. Um, but long story short, I started to learn Polish because I was going to Poland, and I didn't want to be stuck in a situation to where I couldn't communicate, and or at least I couldn't. I at least wanted to try communicating is the thing. So I spent about 2 months learning Polish before we went to Poland, and I've continued to study Polish even until this day. I would say that I definitely do think sometimes in Polish. Um, Definitely for swearing, I definitely swear in Polish now. I don't swear in English very much now. Um, but yeah. And then Danish, on the other hand, remember how I said I wanted to try communicating? Yeah, I didn't have time to do that with Danish, just because there was so much chaos with coming back from Poland. I got delayed in Krakow like an hour, and then got delayed in Krakow an hour, and my flight was pretty late. Like it was at 2:30 in the afternoon, so I didn't leave Krakow until 4, and then I had to go through Chicago O'Hare, which is I hate that airport so much. It's so dull and gray, and I had to re-go through customs to get to the domestic side, and because I was delayed in Krakow, I got delayed in Frankfurt, so it was just compounding like 5 hours of delay. I didn't get back home to my house in Cleveland until about like 3:30 in the morning, which was absolutely brutal. And then I had to make the decision of did I want to re-sign the lease or did I want to try to find a new place to live. And eventually I did. I re-signed the lease, and Ohio has been a pain at my backside, but that's all over with now. I don't think I'll be going back to Ohio anytime soon or ever. Good riddance. I did meet a lot of people there. Um, kind of did a lot. Yeah, I guess if you consider playing with Andrea Bocelli and the Eagles like highlights, yeah, I've had some highlights. Um, but yeah. But anyways, back to Denmark. Danish, right? So getting to Denmark was a pain. I literally had to buy the ticket like 2 days before I left, And then I also had problems with paying my rent, so I was stressed out. And I eventually did. I bought the ticket, but when I bought the ticket, I only pressed one way to Copenhagen because I was so stressed out. Like I legitimately thought that I pressed round trip, and so it didn't dawn on me until about Wednesday or Thursday when I was in Denmark that, oh, I need to get back somehow. uh, yeah, so that was a bit nuts. But thankfully, I had some friends in Copenhagen that I stayed with until then. They were super helpful. Um, Copenhagen is not the worst city to be stuck in. I did a lot of sightseeing. Um, like for instance, I went saw Newhound, saw Mamarkirken, and got to explore the Royal Danish Conservatory, which was pretty rad. Um, yeah, but anyways, I'm getting sidetracked again. I'm sorry. So I didn't have time to study Danish. Here's the thing about Danish. Danish is also difficult, but not for spelling reasons, pronunciation reasons. My goodness, Danish has the same problem that French has, and so you'll see a word. I'm trying to think of a word that's a good example of this. So, yes, like the word for let's just say what's a common phrase? Oh yeah, vel hello do, right? Vel hello do. So that phrase, quite it literally means what are you called, but it colloquially it just means what's your name. However, if you see how it's written, there is no way in hell that you would guess that that is how you say that phrase. So let me just spell this out for you. So Vel, so Hvad. Already we have a problem, right? So quick little primer. The H at the beginning of question words. So like if you see an H at the beginning of a word in Danish next to a V, the H is always silent, so it's not pronounced. So like vel, vor, vonor. Um, yeah. There's some other ones. Vordan's the big one. Um, but yeah. But you have to remember to write it down when you're texting or like when you're like writing stuff down. Um, and then Hila or Hila, the pronunciation changes depending on who's speaking, which is always the case. But with Danish, it's even more because Danish is so far back in the throat. So, vel, hila, and then do. Do is actually the easy part because it's just du. Um, so it is actually pronounced as it looks. So yeah, vel, hila, do. What's your name, right? Um, and then the way you would respond to that is yai hila, and then you would say your name. There is another way to say meet now nair, but more commonly it's more common to hear, at least from my time, yai hila, which just means my name is, or rather, literally, I am called. Um, so yeah, Danish is so difficult. The grammar, however, for Danish is relatively straightforward. Um, Once you understand, um, oh, hello, my battery is running low. But yeah, once you understand the grammar for Danish, it is fairly easy to to construct verbs in the present tense. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up here. But yeah, so the Danish part was really difficult because there weren't just Danes, there were Swedes, there were Ukrainians, and there were Germans, and I was the only American. And so at times people would veer off into like the languages that they spoke or like their second languages because there was a few people from Asia who spoke German as their second language, and the I don't speak Polish well enough to speak to the other person that speaks Polish, and I didn't have anything that I could speak to except for like maybe a little bit of French. So yeah, that was a bit it was a bit weird. Just being like, yes, there are conversations happening around me, and I can't chime in or anything because I don't understand shit. So, yeah, so that's why I started to learn Danish. So, yeah, that's about it. This one has been a little bit longer than the previous one, but yeah, dobra notes. And I hope you have a good day wherever you are in the world. And let us hope for a more peaceful world. Yeah, sounds like a good time. All right, take care.